wrong just for the fact that there's an entire second half. But the Giants who start the year winning two straight, lost their next three, and then won last week. So they're kind of up and down. The Eagles look great to start the year, but kind of fell backwards. Dallas just looks unreal, honestly. They look like the team to beat in the NFC East and possibly the entire NFC. But the real question is, how is that team there's still a lot of talk about, whether or not Dak Prescott's winning all these games. And Tony Romo is going to be the starting quarterback once he's healthy.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about when Romo's going to come back. What I saw was that he's going to actually come back and play the Eagles in Week 8 if he's ready.
No.
Oh, they switched it?
He's actually ruled out. They announced that Dak Prescott will be playing after their bye week.
And as an Eagles fan, that saddens me deeply.
So, good luck with that.
Yeah, really. This Cowboys team's really hot. And, there's a lot of Cowboys fans, surprisingly, in Philly. Cowboys obviously travel very well. A lot of people like the Cowboys.
Yeah, the NFC East. It's definitely going to be a fun finish. Honestly, I would not be shocked if Washington ended up winning that division again, just because realistically, it seems like the Giants and Eagles are both back and forth. Dallas, they're off to a hot start, but putting Romo back at quarterback, I give credit. I do not like Tony Romo just because he's a divisional quarterback, obviously being biased, but I respect the guy. He's a great quarterback. I would not put him in the elite category, but the guy can play.
He can play. Sorry to interrupt, but he can play. But my problem is he always has a problem with choking and turnovers at the end of games. It seems like he's led a lot of game-winning drives, don't get me wrong. But when it really matters, when it really comes down to it, I would say at least 6 or 7 out of 10 times he's going to end up turning the ball over, making a stupid play that could cause his team the game.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you here. But if you really look at it, I get early in his career, most of his career, honestly, he was, a choke artist, very similar to Donovan McNabb.
Good one.
It's my favorite. The NFC East is a bunch of choke artists, besides Big Blue. But regardless, though, Tony Romo has choked, obviously, many times in the past. But if you look at his last playoff game, which was before all of these injuries occurred to him, realistically, that Dez Bryant catch, which they ruled incomplete, which led Green Bay to win that game, Dallas should have won that game and should have been in the NFC Championship game that year.
Yeah, and you wonder if they did. It's always a question of what if. You wonder if they would have won the NFC Championship game. I don't know. It seems like Dallas, even if they did win, I don't know if they would have won that NFC Championship that year.
Well, no, I'm not saying, or I'm just saying, if, looking at Tony Romo's resume, like I'm saying, Tony Romo has obviously choked in many games, which I love, you love.
Oh, I love it.
But regardless, that last year that he was in the playoffs, before all these injuries occurred, he beat Detroit in the wild card round, and then went to Green Bay, and realistically, should have beat them. As the Dez Bryant catch controversy. Obviously, Calvin Johnson dealt with the same thing. But from what I've seen and what I've heard and everything, that was, and especially what the rule is today, that was a catch. So the Cowboys would have been in the NFC Championship game. I'm not saying, I forget who was even there that year, but
I think it was the Seahawks.
Yeah,
right?
The Seahawks. So they would have played Seattle. Obviously, I think the Cowboys would have lost 12th man. That was obviously Seattle's year. But so there's 2 wins right there for Tony Romo. Everything's talked about like this guy can't play in the playoffs. He's a first round done. If you realize, I believe it was back in 2009, Tony Romo beat the Philadelphia Eagles to win the division Week 17, led his team to the playoffs, and beat you guys again in the wild card game.
Yeah, that was a crazy set of events. As an Eagles fan, that was pretty heartbreaking.
I think you were a Steelers fan, actually.
Was I? But it was heartbreaking. It's always heartbreaking, especially when you get beat by a division rival twice, when you could have, won the wild card round. That was really the biggest one. But
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, Tony Romo, he comes in clutch sometimes, but the thing is, you have to stay consistent with that, and that's why I would say, like you were saying earlier, you don't think he's elite. I don't think he's elite because an elite player has to stay clutch consistently.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I mean, honestly, it really, how you look at NFL quarterbacks, it really depends on the team.
Yeah, I mean, Romo, he's always had a decent O line in front of him, but this year I feel like if he had that O line in front of him, he would be a lot better. He has more time in the pocket, obviously, to pass, more pass protection. My whole thing is he just seems like if you blow on him, he's gonna get injured. He's had so many problems with his back and his vertebrae. I worry honestly for that guy's health. I mean, it's always fun watching a player get hit hard, but I don't want to see a player obviously get like paralyzed from the neck down. And it almost looks like some of the hits he's taken that could happen. I mean, it's happened to football players. Crazier things have happened. I just as him, if I was him, I'd really have to consider. Is a championship worth being paralyzed? Or, maybe not paralyzed, maybe that's a little too much, but getting hurt and risking your back for the rest of your life.
See, what I don't think Tony Romo understands is he can still technically win a ring as a backup quarterback, which former first-round draft pick bust quarterback for the Texans, David Carr, who was horrible for the Houston Texans, became a backup for the New York Giants. He is a ring, so it's like
Yeah, but nobody wants to win a ring being on the bench.
Hey, David Carr was willing to take it, but
I mean, I guess if you're a real true team player, you might want that. Excuse me, but as a NFL quarterback, I want to go down in history as the guy that won the Super Bowl. I don't want to be the guy that was sitting on the bench.
No, I mean,
win a ring.
I was just stating a point.
Yeah, I get that, and I think that's something Tony Romo has to consider. I think that he might be better served being a backup quarterback and really being more like a mentor to Dak Prescott.
What really doesn't make sense to me is it's crazy that the Dallas offensive line, which we both know is the best in football, can block anything in the book. But when it comes to their starting quarterback, he somehow goes down. I don't know. Maybe they don't like him.
Maybe they don't. Maybe they're like, hey, we want Dak. It seems like a lot of people in the league do. Maybe it's maybe the league's fixed and they just really don't want Romo in there that bad. No, I just think that...
See, this is what you get when you get a Philadelphia Eagles fan and a New York Giants fan. We're just going to talk for 60 minutes about the Cowboys and how awful they are.
Exactly. I mean, what else did you expect? And if our friend, the Lions fan, would have joined us, he probably would be too, because I know he hates them. But, I mean, the Cowboys obviously are... They're probably the biggest love-or-hate team. Either you absolutely love them or you absolutely hate them.
Yes, they are.
But, anyways, let's switch speeds here and move on to another...
Yeah, I'm sick of
another game.
I'm sick of talking Dallas.
I am too.
Where did we even get that topic from?
I don't know. I want to stop talking about it.
Stupid redhead Jason
Hey, you
Garrett.
stop that. Anyways, moving on. We have New Orleans Saints at the Kansas City Chiefs. 1 o'clock game. I'm going Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say Kansas City Chiefs on this one just because it's at Arrowhead Stadium. I mean, my roommate, who's actually a New Orleans Saints fan, I'm actually cheering for Drew Brees this week, because obviously he's on my fantasy football team.
I have all the Saints like wide receivers. It's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, it's actually scary because of how good that defense is, especially on their home turf. So, I mean, I think Kansas City is going to take this one, but, I mean, I think it could be a good game, possibly. I'm hoping.
I don't know. It all depends on the Saints' defense. I mean,
it doesn't depend on the Saints' defense. It doesn't exist. Me and you are the Saints' defense.
This is true. I mean, it really all comes down to Drew Brees and that offense. I feel bad because Drew Brees is an elite quarterback. I think we all know that. He's broken a few records. He's won a Super Bowl. He's obviously an elite quarterback. The problem is he has no defense to keep him in the game. And as a quarterback, that must be so frustrating to put up, 20 or 30 points every game, and yet you're still losing.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely brutal. I mean, I've watched a couple games this year where it's like, okay, the games, like, especially back in week 3 or 2.
When you guys played them, right? And
No,
that was a low...
week 3 when they played the Falcons. Yeah, see, it's funny because in week 2 when we played them, last season, both quarterbacks combined for like 13 touchdowns and over 1,000 yards.
Yeah, and over 100 points, I think, too.
Yeah, and this year, neither team could score.
And I played Eli in fantasy, and I can't begin to tell you how pissed I was that I didn't start Russell Wilson that week over Eli.
I think Drew Brees gave me like 13 points.
Yeah, Eli, I don't even think he broke double digits.
Like the 1 week I want my defense to not do anything, they do something.
I completely agree. I mean, and it's a shame because it's not like this is a 1 year thing. I mean, their defense has not been there for a while.
Yeah, their honestly, I think we could put together, or me, you, and 9 of our friends, and put together the Saints defense. Probably a better defense.
And you got to wonder who they're going to draft this year. I mean, if I was the Saints, I would definitely think of drafting a lot more defensive players, or at least trading or getting somebody in free agency, because it just seems like they're not even putting that much effort into their defense.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would not be surprised if Sean Payton's job wasn't on the line after the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a shame to see a team that has a great offense and absolutely no defense. But it happens, you know.
Yeah,
that's the NFL.
I've been there.
Excuse me. Next game, we have the Indianapolis Colts at the Tennessee Titans. I'm going the home team. I'm going the Titans. Indianapolis hasn't. I mean, I can't believe how much they've fallen off the wagon here. I mean, they can't get anything going. And Tennessee actually looks good with Marcus Mariota as quarterback. Couple years ago, I would have picked the Colts. Today, I'm picking the Titans.
Yeah, I mean, you also forgot about DeMarco Murray.
Oh, yeah.
Who is running the ball.
I like to not bring him up.
Yeah, I know.
It kind of stings.
What about Shady McCoy?
Yeah, I don't like to bring him up either.
But, you know.
But he's hurt, though, isn't he? He's actually questionable for Sunday.
He'll be fine. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
But beyond the point, I'm going to take Tennessee on this one just because Tennessee has looked really impressive, except for last week's game where they were blowing out the Browns and actually almost blew that lead.
Yeah.
But they've looked pretty impressive to me. The game's at home. The Colts' offensive line is absolutely brutal. And, I mean, you know, Andrew Luck, if this guy had an O-line, obviously is one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL. But, you know, without an O-line, obviously Drew Brees, Eli Manning, guys like that know how it feels to not have an O-line. And their seasons, you know, end up not being the way they want. So I'm going to take the Titans on this one.
Yeah, like I said, I agree. The Titans' offensive line isn't amazing to me. I mean, it's no Cowboys' offensive line, obviously. But DeMarco Murray's running. Like, I haven't seen him run since Dallas. I mean, he obviously wasn't doing that in Philadelphia. I just used him wrong so bad. I mean, he wasn't getting anything, booed by the fans.
That Chip Kelly system did not work for that guy at all.
No, he only makes one or two cuts to the line, and then he's gone. And Chip Kelly, you know, he would use him in the shotgun. He didn't have enough time to get upfield. He's a north to south runner, and Chip Kelly was trying to use him as an east to west runner. And it shocks me that he got rid of LaShawn McCoy because that was his guy. But that's a story for a different day.
Yeah,
we've talked enough about the NFC East.
Yeah, actually, let's go back to Skip Bayless, our good friend, our professional friend. Considering how he was talking about how the NFC East is obviously the worst division in football, which I guess he still thinks it's that. But the fact that we just brought up an AFC South divisional matchup, there is your worst division in football, fella. That division has been brutal, and it's been brutal for years.
What, the NFC South?
The AFC South.
AFC South, I'm sorry.
The Texans, I think, won it last year at 9-7. And, I mean, in my opinion, I think the Titans win that division this year.
I think they could win it at 9-7 like the Texans did last year. I mean, it's not going to take much. I mean, the Texans, what do they really don't have much going. They don't have a solid quarterback in Brock Osweiler. They have a bunch of great wide receivers. They also lost a big defensive piece in J.J. Watt this year, who's having back surgery and who's on IR for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think, you know, missing J.J. Watt that was just the killer right there for that Texans team.
I mean, and people don't realize how demoralizing that must be for that locker room. I mean, to lose a key player like that, he's obviously your defensive captain. You know, when you see a guy like that go out, I think it really demoralizes the team.
Yeah, definitely. But
sorry, what were you going to say?
No, continue.
Oh, I was just going to say, so we have the Colts in that division, the Houston Texans,
Jacksonville,
who really hasn't. I mean, I can't even remember.
I thought Jacksonville was going to win the division this year.
Really?
At the beginning of the season, I just thought that team, the young team that they have, Blake Bortles at quarterback, they have young, good receivers. And, I was expecting their defense because last season it looked like, they were in games, but, they just couldn't find a way to finish games last year. And I thought it was going to be a lot different, especially with more experience on that team. And I was definitely expecting the Jags, put up a fight for the division. I think they've won their last 2 games after starting the year 0-3. But, NFL records don't lie, and the fact that I don't know what the percentage is of teams winning 0-3.
Oh, it's real low.
Or making the playoffs after starting 0-3. But I know there's not many who have done it.
I think there's only 2 or 3, and the last time it happened was in the mid-90s.
Then again, though, it is the AFC South, so anything's possible there.
I mean, yeah, that's a big thing. I honestly, if this was week 1 and we were looking at it, I honestly would have picked the Texans to win it again. I think, they have a lot of great wide receivers in DeAndre Hopkins. They just got Will Fuller, the rookie, who I actually went to high school with, which is pretty cool. Brock Osweiler, who's not a bad quarterback. It just seems like he's not really into the system yet at Texas. He seems hesitant. He's not throwing very deep passes accurately.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say? I'm sorry.
Last week they made an awesome comeback against the Colts, down 14, and then winning the game. But the Texans are still riding high in first place right now. But I can't see that team lasting. It's funny though because it's like the last few years when we would discuss, the Titans are playing the Jaguars on Thursday Night Football game. What a horrible football game! I'm not watching.
What a barn burner! I can't wait to stay up late and be late for work because I watched that.
Yeah, but that could actually be a big game this year. I believe it's another Thursday night game. It seems like they play that one every year, but that one could be an important game.
Yeah, it can be important, but for me, it's not that fun to watch. Those games, when you see, if you watch the Jags Colts this year on what game did you say was on Thursday Night Football? Jags and what? I'm sorry.
It's not this week. I'm just saying. I think
in the future.
Yeah, the Titans and Jags.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I said the Colts. The Titans and Jags, if they play on a Thursday.
We're live.
Yeah. Stop. If the Titans and Jags play each other.
Wrong.
Wrong.
All
right, Mr. Trump. If the Titans and Jags play each other on Thursday night, I'm not going to be staying up late to watch that. Whether it's for the division or not, because I just don't see that division really doing anything in the playoffs anyway.
Yeah, you can't expect a team like the Tennessee Titans or Jacksonville Jaguars to go in and beat the New England Patriots of the worlds, the Denver Broncos. The Oakland Raiders, are a surprising team this year. But, the bigger names, I can't see, if Big Ben's healthy, I can't see him beating the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's just many talented teams in the AFC who I would not picture them beating in the playoffs. But at the same time, like a lot of people say, any given Sunday, anybody can beat anybody.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. But the AFC has been dominated in this decade, and by this decade, I really mean from 2000 on up. Really has been dominated by about three teams that I can think of. That is the New England Patriots, the Steelers, and then
whatever team Peyton Manning's on.
Exactly. I was just going to say whatever team Peyton Manning's on, whether he's on the Colts or the Broncos. And the only exception being that I can think of since that whole era started was the Ravens back in 2012 when they played the 49ers in the Super Bowl. The AFC's so dominant that it's really hard to get past a team like the Patriots or the Steelers.
Yeah, completely agree. And it seems like what kills the Steelers every year,
is injuries.
And, yeah, their starting quarterback, the guy who's actually going to miss, I believe, up to a month with a knee injury. He just had knee surgery.
And this game's a little bit farther down, but let's talk about that game for a second. It's Jarvis Landry who's filling in for him, right?
Jarvis Landry Jones?
Or Landry Jones. Why did I say that?
Jarvis Landry is a Dolphins wide receiver.
Yeah, I don't know why I said that. We're just going to edit that out so I don't seem like an idiot.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
Wrong.
But he's starting for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and if anything, this is probably the worst game he could start against the Patriots. I think, and the game is actually at Heinz Field, but I don't even think that's going to matter.
No, it's not. I mean, Landry Jones has shown in
Jarvis Landry
has shown that he's as good as Odell Beckham, probably. But back to Landry Jones. I mean, this guy has shown nothing in his NFL. And this guy, I used to love in college, watching him at Oklahoma. He was a great college quarterback. I expected bigger things out of him. But, I've seen him start many times. Obviously, Big Ben gets hurt at least for a few games, during the season. And Landry Jones he's not good. I mean, I don't know what better way to put it, but he's horrible.
Well, maybe he'd be better as a wide receiver, just like Terrell Pryor is now.
Or maybe he can go to baseball like Tim Tebow.
I mean, oh, yeah. I mean, we're probably living in the craziest time, ladies and gentlemen, when Tim Tebow can go and make the Mets. I don't know. Is he even in single A technically, or is it just a practice squad?
I think it might be single A, but I think it might be an independent minor league system. I'm not 100% sure what he's in. But the guy's playing professional baseball after he was a huge football guy trying to make a comeback. I can't even.
If we're gonna talk Tebow, the thing that makes me mad is he had a career in football. It just wasn't as a quarterback. It was as a tight end. He has a body built for a tight end. He's 6'5". He's very muscular. He's fast. He could have been a great receiving tight end.
This guy, I mean, his football career went down the drain. The guy won one playoff game, and then all of a sudden the guy was nothing even when he won that one playoff game. He won because all 11 guys on the Steelers defense blitzed him.
I remember that game, and he just threw a bomb. I mean, he could have thrown that almost anywhere on the field, and the receiver would have gotten it and just walked.
Seriously, it's crazy. I mean, the guy was never good in football. But the guy hasn't played baseball since high school. You really expect this guy I mean, I get, he's training hard and all that, but that's like, I played baseball for a good portion of my life. That's like me going to start in training and trying to go sign with the Phillies.
And not only that, but to add to that, not to interrupt or anything, but to add, it's not like he's been out of high school or even college for a few years. He hasn't played baseball in 11 or 12 years. Over a decade, he has not played. And now you're going to tell me this guy's going to make the practice squad? Me and you are going to walk down to Citizens Bank and go demand a tryout with the Philadelphia Phillies if this keeps happening.
Look, I'm going to start kneeling and praying everywhere I can. The only reason this guy gets respect is because he knees on the football field. It's ridiculous.
Not only that, but all the girls think he's cute. And me and Matt are pretty ugly, so I don't think that we're going to get a
true. We don't have those baseball butts.
You wonder if the Mets really are going to take him seriously, or because we remember when Johnny Manziel got drafted, he also what baseball team picked up Manziel, or like they said that he was technically on the team or something, wasn't it?
I don't think
Giants.
I don't think Manziel was signed to a baseball team.
I think there was some talk of some baseball team.
It wouldn't surprise me the way the world is today. I mean,
well, I just think they're doing it to sell merchandise. I mean, if the Mets can make $1 million selling jerseys with Tebow on the back, I mean, they're going to do it. I mean, if you're a business, why wouldn't you? I mean, the guy actually may never play an actual MLB game.
It's just crazy to me because my dream was to become a professional baseball player, and now I'm sitting in a studio recording a podcast while this guy's living my dream.
Yeah, with his ugly friend.
Because he kneels on football fields. Like Kaepernick.
So I don't mean to go back to the Eagles, but they are playing at 1 o'clock. Minnesota.
God, here we go.
Minnesota at Philadelphia at the Link, obviously, at 1 o'clock. Believe it or not, the Minnesota Vikings, I mean, they're giving them out of all the games I'm looking at, they're giving them the slimmest margin out of any NFL game this week to win, which is kind of crazy to think. They only have, I forget what the under-over is, but it's not by much.
Are they playing the blackout game this week?
They are not.
Yeah, because it's not the New York Giants they're playing.
Yeah.
But for this week, I'm actually going to say the Minnesota Vikings pull this game out. In my opinion, a few weeks back, I actually thought that the Eagles would lose one of two, possibly those next two games that were on the road. And I felt like they actually would come home and beat Minnesota. But what I saw last week against Washington and how that team looks, especially missing Lane Johnson, I combined in the last year.
And it's crazy, and it's not good fame either.
No, it's absolutely horrible.
Notorious, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
Moving on, Seahawks. This is actually a really good game too. I was actually going to probably watch this one. This is the Sunday night game at 8:30. You have the Seattle Seahawks at the Arizona Cardinals.
I think the Seahawks take this.
Yeah, give me the Seahawks.
In Arizona, I mean, it's going to be a good game, obviously, Arizona at home. But I'm expecting the Seahawks. I think they're the best team in the NFC West. And I just think Arizona, after being blown out last year, obviously it looked like Arizona kind of took a step back. But I still think, even after winning 2 straight, getting a 500, I still don't think they're the same team.
No, and I would have to agree. I mean, they got blown out, pretty much embarrassed by Carolina last year. Does not look anything like the team I saw last year. I mean, and Arizona's been a pretty consistently good team. I mean, I remember when they played the Steelers in the Super Bowl. Ever since then, they've had their good years and their bad, but for the most part, they seem to make the playoffs. I mean, they're obviously competing with the Seahawks, which for me makes this a very interesting game because it's been back and forth between them for the division. But, yeah, I'm going to have to go Seahawks with this one. I just see them coming out on top. I don't think it's going to be the highest scoring game, but I do think it's going to be a fun one to watch.
Definitely.
And finally, our last one, the Monday night game at 8:30, which actually, probably another game I'm going to want to watch. Texans at the Broncos. Osweiler back in Denver.
Ooh.
Give me Denver. Denver at home, the altitude difference.
Osweiler's he played there last year.
Osweiler, I mean, yeah, but you're without J.J. Watt, not a great offensive line, and you have to go against Von Miller.
I get that, but at the same time, the Denver offense is not as good, and I think Brock Osweiler is back for revenge. Give me the Texans on that one.
I'm going Broncos with this one. I think that they're a great team at home.
Wrong.
Shut up. Great team at home. Thanks. Now I lost my train of thought. But I do think their offense isn't great, and I don't think. But then again, neither is the Texans. I'm looking for a low-scoring game. I don't see either team getting above, maybe 24 points. I think it's probably going to be like a 20-17 or a 21-17 game or something like that.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a defensive battle, but we shall see.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you so much for tuning into the first episode of the Man Zone podcast. We're looking at me and Matt are looking to do this every week. Please like, comment, and subscribe below if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on iTunes, pretty soon we'll have an email account going where you guys can list your questions and everything like that. We're going to be talking about more topics than just sports. We're looking to talk about, cars, working out, gym, relationships. Politics, if we really want to get into that. Probably a little bit closer to election time. We know it's coming up on the 11th. I think, is election day the 11th? I think it is. I know it's in like early to mid-November.
Even though we're going to talk about politics, I hate them. But regardless, I mean, we're on here. We're here to talk about whatever a man needs to know in life. Regardless of how old you are. If you have a little bit of facial hair somewhere on that chin of yours, this is
on that chest.
This is that show for you. This is going to make that chest hair grow.
That's right. And we're also here to listen to your questions and comments. We want to talk about what you guys want to hear, not just what we want to talk about. I mean, me and Matt are willing to talk about just about anything. And we're going to be having some more guests on. We're supposed to have our friend Scott Anderson on tonight. He had some other things to do, though, and couldn't be here, unfortunately.
So, anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys did, I know first episode was kind of boring, just talking sports for an hour and a half. But, make sure you come back and we'll have some more interesting topics.
All right, thank you guys so much.
Take care, everybody.
We're signing out.